Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Source Friday. If you're new to this stream, it's basically a stream that we do every Friday, talking to different maintainers, core contributors, or developer advocates within the open source space about their projects to learn more about like how we can get involved into open source and to learn more about their journeys as well. If my Wi-Fi is a little bad, I apologize, or if there's like noise in the background. I am at a conference right now, and I tried so hard to find like a quiet space, but it wasn't that easy. Just saying hi to some people in the chat. I see Laura. Thanks for tuning in, Laura. We have some people saying they're tuning in from San Diego and India. I always like to highlight them. But enough talking about me. We have a special guest today, and I would love for her to introduce herself.
Hello, how you doing? So I'm Nnenna Ndukwe, and I'm a developer advocate at Slim.AI.
Nice, awesome. And like y'all don't know, but Nnenna and I go way back. We went to the same coding boot camp together,
Yeah.
and it's been a crazy journey. Now we're both developer advocates. Do you want to talk just a little bit about your journey into tech, or even into Devrel?
Yeah. So like as you mentioned, like we go way back. What was it? Resilient Coders, the coding boot camp that we both went to. We have history studying computer science together at BU at one point. But yeah, my journey really began when I started like teaching myself how to code before joining the coding boot camp. And then straight after that, I, launched into a fintech startup company, then was in ed tech at O'Reilly Media, and then found my way into the cloud native space now, which is like super new to me and really exciting. So started off as a curious person who wanted to learn how to code, became a software engineer, and then along that journey, I'd always liked documenting my experiences. Like I would document like the things I was learning at coding boot camp and things like that through writing and content creation and involving myself in the local and global tech ecosystem by speaking on panels. And so I was like, it would be super cool. I'm doing this in my free time for free. Wouldn't it be awesome to actually do this as a part of my job? How can we combine the technical side of myself and the creative side? And then that's when I did a little digging and found out that developer advocacy was a thing. And I was like, this is a dream come true. It's a little scary that this is even possible. And so, yeah, here I am. I found my way into Slim.AI, and it's been awesome. And I can obviously explain what we're all about, but that's the background of my journey.
I love it. I love it. I feel like a lot of people fall into Devrel similarly, where they're like, I like coding. I was curious about coding, but I want to be able to like learn. Like I want to be able to connect my other skills with this. Laura said the career changer to developer advocacy pipeline is so real. Me too. I feel that. But
Yes, absolutely.
You talked a little bit about the cloud native space and you mentioned Slim.AI. Can you give us like a brief download on like what Slim.AI is?
Yeah, so it kind of started, the foundation was Slim Toolkit, which is the open source project. And that was formerly known as Docker Slim. And the whole concept was, how can we make containers more secure? And in turn, how can we reduce the amount of vulnerabilities in containers, make them more secure, and then make them smaller? And those could be like the product of that could be the best version of your container image to ship to production. And so that is what Slim Toolkit allowed for people, for developers, DevOps folks to do. And then from that open source project, it stemmed into the foundation for the platform that we've built, which is super exciting. And Slim Toolkit was recently accepted into the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, CNCF. And so it's a project there, and there's many contributors. So that's how it started, and that's where we're at now. Is this sort of like SaaS platform, as well as a command line interface and a Docker desktop extension that allows developers to easily optimize their containers and make it more secure, and then ship that to production.
That's awesome. I didn't know y'all had so much going on. In addition to getting into the CNCF ecosystem, that's really awesome. Just gonna highlight Jen really quickly. She said, "Yay, hi, beautiful humans." Hey, Jen.
Hello.
So, for me, like, I want to just, so for me, I don't really, when people say cloud native, I don't really know what they mean. Like, so I was just curious, like, if you would be able to explain it, like, in your own words, or what from you, what you've understood as cloud native to be. Because I'm like, is it just like a cloud app? Like, I don't really know what they mean when they say cloud native.
Yeah, I like to think of it as like using resources or computational resources that are not necessarily from you, but from other places like Microsoft Azure or AWS. So that's as simple as I can put it. It's like a software that's using these resources from other companies or things like that. So that's how I like to describe it. And maybe that's too simple. Maybe that's not technical enough, but sometimes it's good to keep it very high level when you think of it, just to help you like process what it is. But yeah, it's a new space for me, I would say. So like when I started learning about it, I'm very new to it. So I'm kind of approaching it as that, like, explain it to me like I'm 5. That's kind of the stage I'm in, which I think is a very like interesting perspective, especially when people are slowly or actually very rapidly getting into the space, and a lot of the experts in this space still have questions too about how containers really work, and Docker and files and all of this stuff. So it's really exciting to be in this and to learn as much as I can from people who are also still trying to learn so much.
Yeah, no, I liked your explanation. It was simple, something I could follow rather than
Yes.
using a whole bunch of words. Even
Right.
Jed said, "Thanks for asking this," and she also said, like, that makes so much more sense now. So we appreciate the
Yay.
explanation.
I love
um,
that.
so what attracted you to? Because I usually ask maintainers like, why were you inspired to like build this product? But I know you're not the maintainer of the product. So like, what attracted you or inspired you to be like, you know what, I do want to like get into this space? Because I know you said you came from ed tech and other like industries, and then I know you're like,
Hmm.
I know you have like a front end developer background. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like so when I was learning about anything related to cloud native or containers, I thought that this particular concept, this project of how can we make it smaller? How can we make it more secure? To me, that seemed like a really good mission, especially hearing more and more about how DevOps engineers and developers really struggle to manually. There's this like general sentiment that it is hard to remove vulnerabilities from containers. And sometimes when you're trying to get something out to production, you're trying to ship something, depending upon the industry that you're in, if it's pretty strict, right? That your ability to ship to production is going to be blocked, because maybe there's some major vulnerability that puts your platform at risk and puts your customers at risk. So I think the mission of removing vulnerabilities manually is what people typically do. Most DevOps engineers do. That's really hard. You are likely to break stuff, right? It's hard to kind of figure out what is necessary and what isn't necessary to have in your containers, like all these extra packages and files. So if we can take on that burden by automatically reducing it through this tool that has been developed, then we're saving time for DevOps engineers. People who aren't necessarily experts don't have to be experts, right? In order to ship more secure containers to prod, we're really helping the whole development life cycle for people who leverage this tool if they so choose to. So I thought that that was an amazing mission. And of course, when you're, you know, reducing the chances of hackers being able to attack software, you are helping the world. I see it as that.
Yeah, you're improving the developer experience. And then
Yes.
I love that like it is focused on security because I think that is something that developers may sometimes throw under the rug or whatever. They're like it's too hard, like every like it's too much fuss, at least at the startups I've been at. Because I've not been at like enterprise companies that are like this is gonna be blocked. Like I've often been at companies where they're like, we're just gonna ship it. Like who cares? Like we'll deal with it later, and then that gets thrown under the rug, and then it puts companies in a vulnerable state. So
Yes.
I like that mission too.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting, like thinking about that from like the developer perspective. It's like I don't want anything to slow me down. I want to be able to ship
Yeah,
fast, build fast, break things and fix it and just keep moving, like iterate. So
yeah,
one of the big things that I want to do more of as a developer advocate is kind of explain more to the everyday developer how important security is and how when you pay attention to it, don't see it as something that is going to slow you down. See it as when you're leveraging a tool that was built off of like Slim Toolkit, right? Then you are able to actually speed up your development process and you're able to do more and build it safer. So that's an angle that I really want to attack more, just to like bring awareness to that.
I love that. No,
Mhm.
that's a really good goal for yourself. Um, so I don't know if you're. Oh, actually, yeah. If you're okay, do you want to quickly switch over to giving us a demo or some kind of explanation so we can visually see it? Because I'm excited about like the tooling that it has, and it makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. Is my screen
Okay,
shared right now? Can you see the
pulling it up.
GitHub
Yeah,
repo? Okay, so yeah,
yeah,
we're in the Slim Toolkit repo, and here's a little bit of an explanation of kind of what I was just talking about. You can optimize your experience with containers, make them smaller. This is open source. It was created by Kyle Quest, who is the CTO here at Slim.AI. And then we kind of give a very detailed overview of the different, the, the explanation of how it all works and the different commands that you can leverage. And then this graphic, I think, is very useful to kind of describe how the thing works. Once I'm done explaining this graphic, then I'll go into the platform and you can see how things look visually, like the vulnerabilities and a comparison between the a public image like Nginx, for example, and then the slimmed version of that. So you can see what all of that looks like. But this graphic
yeah.
is what, yeah. So if that sounds cool, if that's what we can do.
Totally, totally. Go
Okay.
ahead. Sorry.
So, oh, no worries. This graphic kind of explains how the process of slimming. What we do is we can take your container, right? You can pull down your container. Um, and what we do is we inject sensors into your container, and we call that an instrumented version of your container. What these sensors are going to do is when you run your container image, right, we're going to collect all of the intelligence, everything that we find out that your container needs in order to run smoothly, safely in production and through testing and all of that. Then once you stop your container, we are able to take that sensor data and on our platform, we're able to show you how the hardening process, when you harden the container, we're able to build a new version of your container that has removed a bunch of the unnecessary files and packages from your container. And so that ends up removing vulnerabilities and making it smaller. So that's kind of what this graphic describes. And this is what it looks like on the platform. So this is kind of like the home page of the platform. It lays it out pretty generically for you just to get an idea. It's like a three-step thing. Connect your registry. We'll run our vulnerability scanners. We have multiple open source scanners that we leverage to give you an assessment of the vulnerabilities, the packages that are in your container. And then we take you through the vulnerability removal process by hardening and securing your container. So what I love about this is that we're able to connect to different registries. Everybody's using something different. We want to be able to accommodate as many folks as we can. That's why you see Docker Hub here. That's why you see GitHub here. Hey, DigitalOcean, Google, AWS, all of that fun stuff. Down here, this is my own profile. Down here, you can see that I have connected. I've hooked up my own GitHub and as well as Docker Hub to the Slim platform. I don't know if you could see this really well, but right here you can see the Nginx. So I was able to, on the platform, you can search for public images, or you can use go into your own private images that you'll have, but you can copy over the public images into your own registry and then take a look at what it looks like. So I'm looking at the Nginx, latest version of Nginx, and I get a summary of all of like the vulnerabilities and their different risk levels and what's going on in the packages. I can take a look at files and, you know, all of the metadata that I need. And this is the information that I think really empowers you to discover what the before is of a container image that you want to use for building an app, and then the after. And here's is the comparison. I don't know if this is a little, is that better? Maybe
I
we
can
can,
see it. I can see it. And
okay,
nobody in the chat is saying it's too small, so it's good.
okay, awesome. So this is an overview of a comparison of the latest version of Nginx and the slimmed version. So this is really cool. Once you have gone through the whole process of hardening the container on the platform, this is what you could expect to see. You'll see the reduction, a significant reduction in vulnerabilities. Went from 105 to 23. Files, the amount of files is way smaller now, and the file and
That's
also the
crazy.
entire, yeah, and the size of the container itself went from 142 megabytes to 23. That is super huge, I think. And I think that in general, when you're using, you can then use this latest slim version of Nginx to go off and build something, right? So it's smaller, it's probably going to run faster, it's going to build faster, all of that. So that's kind of a very general overview of things. And of course, there's all these different other tabs that show you how we have made changes to the image metadata and the Docker files to show, okay, this is a more optimized version of your app, and these are the changes that we made in the image. I hope that that was a good kind of
No,
rundown of things.
that was really good. I have a question, but we also have a question in the chat. I hope it's not like, so keep in mind everyone, like Nina's more newer to the company. So if we have like follow-up questions, maybe we could like follow up with other people who are on the team. But someone said interesting, how can we ensure the Docker image um functions as expected after slimming? Some sort of regression test or something that happens? They're asking, I guess.
Yeah, so the whole idea, that's a very great question, by the way. The whole idea is that when you leverage Slim, the way that it would work is that it's integrated into your CI/CD pipeline, right? So you want this to be a part of your whole testing experience. Testing is something that we always encourage in general, I think, in the engineering space, in the DevOps space. So yeah, you can run your tests to make sure that everything is functioning as expected, and also you can connect it to something like GitHub Actions, or right. So like when you commit something and you push it, as a part of that whole build process, is that we can then inject the slimming process into that, so that you get a smaller version of. So like there, the whole idea is that you are definitely encouraged to be testing always, to make sure that everything works. But the way that it's built is that we want to make sure that the sensors are collecting the data to know what would be needed to run, so that you aren't breaking anything after you have that newer, smaller version, more secure version of your container. So it's all supposed to be part of the whole CI/CD pipeline. That's where you want this to be, and a part of testing.
That was a good question and a really great answer. That makes a lot of sense. My particular question, maybe it's a little simple, but I was just curious, like when it showed you the vulnerabilities, does it give details about like what exactly the vulnerability is? Like if you click it, does it say like this is this and like this is the reason why it would be bad for you or something? Okay,
Yeah, yeah. So
cool.
here you can get so here you can see the scanners that were utilized, and they're slightly different results because every scanner gets slightly different results, and sometimes engineers will kind of like battle with each other about like if these are accurate or not. So that's why we like to have multiple scanners. But here you can see from the vulnerability report, a whole summary of exactly what the vulnerability is, if there is a fix that's available, whether that's known or not. And then we also have a link to the, let me see where this goes. We have a link to exactly all of the information that you would need about what this CVE is and how critical it is, where it's coming from, which package, the history of all of that, and all of the affected software. So that's the data that we think is super important to be able to show folks, just to give all that for deeper insight into exactly what's happening and why. That's why you can see the summaries here, that are listed as a part of this report. And also
This is
these kind of things are downloadable too, which I think is helpful.
awesome. I love it. And then like if they when we're fixing vulnerabilities, is there like a select all and it just does all of them, or you have to pick each individual one and be like, I want to make sure that this one gets resolved? I know this is a really specific question. Just curious.
Yeah, so you don't have to do anything. Slim is doing all of that for you. I think when it comes to the hardening process, there are configuration steps before we actually do all the work to remove the ones that we can, from your system. And that means that if maybe you don't want your actual like app, like front end app, any of those files or anything like that to be touched, then we can go through, you have the ability on the platform to deselect, like, hey, hi, I don't want the slimming process to be affected by, or to affect or touch any of these files. So you can decide that if you want to be that granular or detailed on your own. If not, generally, then we will just be able to move through your container image and remove stuff on our own. So that is not any of the work that you have to do. And I think that's like one of the big things about the product, is that it's not manual, it is automatic. So it saves a lot of headache, I would think.
Awesome. Thank you. That makes like no, yeah. I was like, how automatic is it? I know you said it was automatic, but I'm like, how automatic? But that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I only have like one more question about the platform, and then we can switch more to if you're okay with it. Like maybe like how you're thinking about like strategy for Devrel or just your overall
Yes.
like journey and experience. My only last question is like, are there any like upcoming features that people can look forward to in Slim, and then how can they get involved in contributing to the project?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot that we're trying to work on with Slim to make it more than just, oh, we want to slim your containers, we want to harden your containers and make them safer. What we want is to provide more data, more insight into what's really going on into your container, and to be able to present that in the UI and improve the developer experience. And then the next thing beyond that is kind of taking up more of the whole software supply chain um, pipeline. That whole process, the whole management of software supply chain, we want to attack it at multiple angles than just being able to see your vulnerabilities, be able to automatically remove them. And so that's like the major things on the horizon, I would say, that are unfolding, is not just being a small part of a software supply chain, but having an entire platform and management that's more end to end. And we'll see how things unfold in like, the next year or so. But I'm really excited about that. I think it's a big project. They're big goals, but we do have some amazing people, very smart people working here. So I trust in them.
Yeah, and it's super needed for this industry. And then like, how could people? Oh man, sorry about the noise. I don't know if y'all hear it, but how can people contribute? Like, let's say they're like, "Yo, I have a great idea. Like, do y'all have open issues? Do you have docs or some good first issues for people to join in on?
Yeah, so here is the GitHub link. Maybe I should share that with
Oh, I put
you.
it on the screen. I put it on.
Okay,
I'm way ahead of you.
yay, awesome. But yeah, that's how you can contribute right here. People have contributed, people have ideas. When you join we have a Discord community, people bring up issues that they find on there. And so yeah, anybody is able to be a part of this project. And I'm glad that it started off as open source because I think that that's super important. And we want to be able to be collaborative, and this is the way that you can do that. So yeah, if you have the link, you'll be able to do that and be able to get involved.
Yeah, so I can't. So just for the folks watching, I can't actually paste the link into our like chat, just because of GitHub's limitations. But basically, you see it on the screen. It's github.com/slim toolkit/slim. If you wanted to get involved, I always love, like you said, when projects are open source because that means it's more for the community. It means they're
Yes.
listening to like the people using it, like the actual users. So that's awesome. All right, so I'm a. If it's a, do you have anything else to show in terms of your demo? If not, we'll like transition into like the Devrel part of all of this.
Yeah, let's talk Devrel.
Awesome. Cool. All right. So um my like question to you is just like I have never like my only DevRel job has been at GitHub. And GitHub is already a really established product. They already like kind of were naturally doing their own developer advocacy before they even had a team. And then I came in on an already built team. But like you started out at a startup in like a lesser, it's not as popular, right? Yes, it probably will be. So I'm just curious about like what strategies have you used? Because I know DevRel strategies look different from like company to company, depending on size, depending on like if it's open source or private or whatever. Like I'm just curious about like what things do you think you're gonna try to hit first to help advocate and build the community?
Yeah, I think there's so many. I mean, it's a big question, right? Because there's so many components to DevRel, right? And every company is different. So I think that my job is really it's always evolving, right? There's different priorities depending upon how it's a startup, right? So we're moving fast, we're evolving fast, we're breaking things, we're fixing, we're shifting, and I think one of the biggest jobs for me is to figure out what I need to focus on mostly depending upon the stage that we're in, right? So there might be a time where I need to focus way more on just community and connecting with others and you know, encouraging people to build things using Slim. And then there are other times where I'm just like, where we realize that content is the biggest thing. And I've been focusing a lot on content and contributing to documentation, really building out our docs and making it easier for people to just jump in and be able to get value out of the tool, out of the platform or the CLI, all of that in a very short amount of time. So when you talk strategy, it's always changing, I would say. But there are different pillars, of course. There's the community, there's the content creation, there's also that like networking aspect of it and collaborating with other dev rel folks. So, and speaking at events, I was just at KubeCon EU, by the way, and that was amazing in Amsterdam. I was in Amsterdam for like, I don't know, 9, 10 days. That was an amazing opportunity to meet other dev advocates and also to be able to connect and talk with people who had very specific problems on their team that they're looking to solve using our tool. So it's a balance of different things. It can feel like it's a little all over the place, but I think as time goes on and I get more acclimated to the different types of responsibilities that a dev advocate has, that I will have a better understanding. I'll have a more like meticulous and mapped out like strategy. But I do like to, who was it? Sam Julian and other people that I like to read or watch like content from. There's also John O'Bacon. I'm a part of the community leadership core group. and a lot of other community leaders who are in that group as well, where we're learning about different community strategy to build a great community around your open source project or your tool or software that you've built. So that's one of the big things I think that has been super helpful is like, we're all community leaders and we have this huge responsibility to build something great and meaningful. How in the world do you do that? And how do you do it well? And Jono is, obviously he's a pioneer and has been incredibly resourceful through this whole new experience. So I kind of answered your question, but kind of didn't.
No, no, it was good. Like I'm really glad that you've had people like that's how I've learned too, right? Just from talking to other Devrel leaders and being like, how have you approached things and like just observing their careers and like even at a larger company at like GitHub, I'm still like, wow, the strategy keeps switching so quickly. Like first we're doing
Yes.
this and like okay, now we gotta like move to this next thing. So like I relate and I understand. um,
Yeah,
I was
I was
just
gonna I was gonna ask the question
yeah.
back to you, like how has that been? What have your priorities shifted about the types of things that you need to be focusing on as things have changed?
Yeah, when I first started, I think I was like more heavily focused on open source and like beginners in general for like different things in open source or even just introducing them to Git. But I
Hmm.
think as the economy has shifted and the industry has shifted and GitHub has become more of a leader in AI, especially generative AI, it's like GitHub Copilot is the thing that we want to introduce people to. It's the thing that we want to like help lead the industry in
Yeah.
going in that direction. So like that's been the shift that I've seen and experienced.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, and there's been so much chatter about AI and where things are gonna go. I am like terrified and excited, like so many mixed emotions,
No,
but
me
it's
too. It's
amazing.
every day I'm like, oh sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, you didn't. Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
no, me too. Every day I'm like, I love AI, and then I'm like, all right, too much AI, guys. Like, calm
Yes.
down.
Right? Yeah. I'm just like, okay, I just want to make sure I'm at like the better side of this in terms of my job. I'm like, okay, well, can AI travel to a conference and speak? I don't know. I don't think so.
I
So
think I think right now our jobs are safe. I think it's
yeah,
help. At least for me, it's helping my job. So
yeah.
I
That's
was
funny.
I was also like curious um how like what are like I don't know if you know since you're still fairly new and still like onboarding into the community, but like what are the challenges you've seen so far as a developer advocate that um like that the developers in your community are facing and that you're like, oh man, like maybe we need to solve this. Like are they like struggling to understand the importance or like how to leverage it or whatever? I don't
Yeah, I think one of the things is it's like getting immediate value out of the tool. And I think that it's less about the tool itself and more about how we're documenting how to use it. Everybody's using different programming languages, different software tools, different, CI/CD tools, and how can we clearly explain how to leverage Slim no matter what tooling system that you're using. And that is that's a challenge because it's possible to do it. It's just a matter of can you map this out in a very obvious way? Like and so that I can, hold my hand. Like this is a case where you definitely want to be handheld and get through it. So I think that it's going to be a big responsibility of mine to focus a lot on information architecture for our docs to make sure that we are able to explain if you're using this tool, if you're using this, if you're using GitHub or you're using Docker Hub, you're using Jenkins or GitHub Actions, here's how to hook everything up from beginning to end so everything can run smoothly. That's going to be a big responsibility of mine, or it is. There's a big docs project that I'm focusing on along with my manager and other folks to make sure that we can explain this very easily and make sure people get value out of it.
Love it. And I think I relate with you. I think things like products like code spaces, um, I think it's harder for us to show the value of it because people are like, okay, they opened up a code space, but like, how do you set up a dev container? And there's all these
Hmm.
different platforms and tools. It's like, okay, setting up a dev container for a Python project that also has like is using like AWS or whatever. It's very like specific things to be able to lead people to really see that value. Loris talk said left a comment. I think this is like in reference to when we were talking about AI. She said I asked ChatGPT to write a cover letter for me, and it gave it my CV, and it straight up lied. Decided I went to Stanford instead of the university on my CV and made up jobs I've never had. I feel pretty safe. I'm not being replaced.
Right. I love that. That is hilarious. Stanford, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely don't use that resume. But yeah, I think we're a long ways away um, from it being something that could threaten our jobs. But I am never going to put anything past technology. So I'm always keeping it in the back of my head to stay many steps ahead as much as I can.
Yeah, I'm trying to be in the area of I'm helping to bring AI in a good direction so that like my job's not like
There we go.
threatened. I'm like let's talk about the ethics of it, and then also like talking about like how do we leverage AI so that it's not making up lies or like what people call hallucinations, where it's like how do we like figure out how to prompt it to make sure we get like that those like desired results that we want. um my other questions to you are just like what's been like the most fulfilling or rewarding part of being a developer advocate at Slim.AI for you so far?
I think, I mean, there's just so many things, honestly. I think being being able to doing things like this is what I love. Being able to collaborate with people like you in the space and to bring awareness to amazing projects that are changing the landscape of technology. You know, that kind of like networking aspect with other developer advocates is super cool. Being able to figure out how to communicate and convey the value of a product through speaking, through like workshop type of things. I think that is amazing and it's exciting, it's challenging through video content, all of that stuff that is on the horizon for me or that I have dipped into recently with joining Slim. It feels very rewarding. And I think it's a challenge. It's a type of challenge that is where you have to be very responsible and you have to be very thoughtful and inclusive and empathetic. And I love that it can stretch the bounds of my personality and my comfort zones in order to help others, in order to serve. And that is what has been really exciting about this job is that I'm getting paid to serve others and improve their experiences.
Yeah, I love that. Me too. I'm like it has made me think different things. Like I've had to think a lot more about maintainers, even though I haven't had that experience as a maintainer. I'm like that's
Hmm.
so interesting. Like, and then I have to give talks on how to be a better maintainer or tips,
Yeah,
even though I'm not a maintainer. I'm like I gotta
yeah,
listen to them and figure out. So I relate with that experience. It's awesome.
yeah.
Um, and then I guess how has being working as a developer advocate at Slim.AI impacted your understanding of like security and container optimization? Because that's really something like I try to like avoid just a little bit. It sounds scary. I'm like I'm gonna I'm gonna focus on what I know.
Right, right. Yeah. So wait, what was your question again? I want to make sure I answer it accurately. I think it's muted.
Sorry,
Okay,
don't
there we
know
go.
why it got muted. I think
Oh,
I
no.
think my headphone dropped up. Um, what was I saying? I was saying, how has your understanding of security and containerization evolved or been impacted
Mhm.
as you've been working here as a developer advocate?
I mean, so obviously coming into it, I didn't really know much. I never had to interact too much with containers, being more of a front end developer. I mean, I left that stuff for that hard stuff for the DevOps folks. And I happily did. But now being in this is like I am really forced to just get step outside of my comfort zone and to learn something totally new, and to do it, like I said before, alongside other people who are experts. Right? Part of it. So this is my ADHD brain weaving off into different like tangents, but I promise I'll bring it around full circle at some point. um, Part of this, so this stuff is hard. Like you said, you're just like, oh, I'm kind of trying to avoid it. This is just really confusing. But there are experts in this space that I am just focused on relying on. Like the people are creating content around this. People are really wanting to educate folks on all things security. And to me, that is what is exciting, is that I'm always learning something new every single day. And the experts themselves are learning something new every single day. So to me, that is encouraging. You can look at it from a point of, you can look at it from, oh, I'm super intimidated, or you can change your perspective and look at it as this is opportunity, right? And if I can show up being receptive, being humble, and being curious, this is actually a super exciting thing that I don't know anything, because I know I'm about to learn so much and I'm about to empower myself and then to be able to turn around and empower others. So like that's how I like to look at it, as opportunity. It's scary, but there's so much opportunity on the other side of that is growth. So that's kind of how I see it. That's my perspective. Hopefully that made sense.
I love that. No, yeah, yeah, opportunity. I like that, and I think that's a good way to face problems head on. I think especially
Yes.
in technology, we
Mhm.
could either feel nervous and get imposter syndrome, or we could be like, this is a moment that I'm gonna learn. Like maybe I'll feel dumb sometimes or be confused,
Mhm.
but like this is this is the experience of growth. Like this is the same thing
Yes.
as when we were learning to code, where we're like, what's going on?
Yes.
But
Yes, we're
now we
doing
can
that
code.
whole thing all over again. Isn't that, and
Yeah.
just in even becoming a developer advocate, it's like you're doing that whole learning process all over again. And you just have to, and also like there's the whole honesty component. I don't know if I already mentioned that. It's like showing up honest, like, hey, I am new to this. So like that's my angle, is that I am new to this. I'm learning in public and I'm going to do my best and I'm excited. And I think that people really resonate with that when you just show up not making it seem like you know everything, or that you're supposed to know everything. I think that's more relatable. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
No, it is. That's literally how I approach everything. I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm an expert, because then people find out I'm not an expert. But I
Yes.
do think it makes people like. I think in general the internet is really, or internet users are tired of like the whole like promotion, like this is fake, like even with like the beauty industry, right? Like at first it was just nice to see people like put on makeup and this was their first time trying out, and then it turned into like, oh, this person's getting paid to do this or sponsored, and now you're like, I don't really believe them, is this real? And like I think it's the same thing with Devrel too. It's like, are they just marketing this to me just because they want me to buy it, or is this person truly just like going through the process and learning, and can I learn alongside them?
I love that. That was an amazing,
Yeah.
perfect comparison. That was
Yeah.
very insightful.
I feel like I was just rambling, but all
It
right.
was smart rambling.
Laura said, and thank you so much, Laura, for being engaged in this.
Yeah.
Laura said, I think that's exactly why we career changers make great dev advocates. Yeah, we're professional. Yes, I
Yes,
think
I
that
love
really is
that.
what we are.
Yes, yes, lifelong learners. That's how I see it. Lifelong learning, and to learn and share at the same time. That's dope. That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so we're nearing the end. I'm just gonna ask some like fun, very non-technical questions that I tend to ask guests. So my first one is like, what's the first programming language you learned?
What is the first program? You know what? I think it might have been Python. I think I started learning Python before HTML and CSS. um, using, what was it? Codecademy? Codecademy.com. Did you ever use that?
Okay, I'm not even trying to be weird that I remember this random moment, but I think we once met or like were once at like the same meetup or something, and then like you pulled out Code Academy. I was still in IT, and you were like, "I'm doing Python," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what is Python?" So
No
I think that sounds
way.
right. Yeah,
I love that. How many years ago was that?
I don't even know.
Ooh, I mean, back then I was really trying to fake it till I make it. I didn't
No,
know
but
I was
you
doing
were
like,
learning.
yeah, yeah. No, that those Codecademy and all that was super helpful. But I just think it's so funny how it was like Python instead of like, maybe something that has like visual feedback, like HTML. But I was
It's
like, let's just jump into it. Let's build a game. It was super
it's
cool.
okay. I learned SQL because like
Nice.
RCC was like, oh, we're doing like a certificate program for SQL and like you can do it for free. And then I was like sitting there through the
Oh,
whole class like, I don't get how this like shows up on your website. Like,
yeah.
I was like,
It's like, I
so
love
I
that.
get
Yeah.
you.
But Python is still one
Okay.
of my favorite languages, by the way. Still, I think it's very elegant. I love that there's a Pythonic way to do things, and there's so much
Yeah.
support. There's so much support from people. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've been getting into Python too. I mean, I'm more of a JavaScript person, but like ever
Mm,
since Copilot came out, I'm like, ooh, Python, this is actually much like easier than I thought. It's like a smooth process. I enjoy it. Lots of
yeah, it's
things are
more
built into
readable.
it already. Yeah, and
Yes.
very readable. Yeah. Um, Next question: if money wasn't an issue, how would you ideally spend your time? Well, it doesn't have to be a job, but it could be.
Okay. If money weren't an issue, um, so I would be writing a lot. I would be speaking too, and I'd want some kind of like high up type of board level position, honestly, at a few nonprofit organizations that I really resonate with. I would be volunteering day in, day out, speaking on panels, advocating and being on the ground, but also helping like financially or whatever it is. I think that is like basically kind of like what Meghan Markle has kind of always done in her career. I think that is like, oh, dream come true. Serving.
I love that. That sounds really fun. And also the writing part sounds fun. When I was little, I was like, I want to be a writer. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, you don't make money with that? Like, dang.
I was so
Laura
let
said,
down.
I know. I was like, I'm ready. I love writing. It's so fun. I'm good at it. But then I realized, Laura said she's Team Python too. So shout out
Yeah.
to the Pythonistas.
Yes, Pisces for the win.
Um, My other question is I recently added this question because someone in the chat had asked this
Mhm.
question like, what is something like you learned today? It could be technical, it could be something simple like learn how to make food. I don't know.
I finally learned how to cook. Nah, I don't know. What did I learn today? I mean, this is probably not technical. I was doing a little bit of research before like my workout this morning. So I just learned some new dumbbell choreography movements and strength training movements that are really going to help to like maximize my workout, so I don't have to work out for like an hour. I don't have to do like 20 to 30 minutes. And so there's like this sequence of movements that I'm like super excited about. It's tough, but it just gets the job done. It's like kind of like, weightlifting until like failure. And so that's a short amount of time, but then your body's just like, oh, that's what we're doing, okay, and you tone up super quickly. So not totally not technical, but I'm super into fitness. Anybody who knows me, who has lurked on like my social media, please do not, knows that I am that I'm super into that too. And I think that that's also, it ties in pretty nicely with the dev life. It's like, oh, remote work life or hybrid work life, how can I make sure that I'm taking care of myself and like still remaining fit and eating healthy and being sharp? So yeah, I like to talk about that a lot.
No, I think yeah, I have noticed that like you're really into fitness. That's really good, and I think it's important to show those other parts because I think
Yeah.
that sometimes we're like, programmers just code all day, but like
Yeah.
we need to do other stuff. It can't just be
Yes.
that. Someone said, so programmers are writers with their dreams shut down. I don't
Yeah.
know if all programmers.
Some
I
of
would say
us.
maybe a lot of Devrel people who, yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's why we're all like, we need like a Devrel or I don't know, former wannabe writers support group or something because I think
Support
we're
group.
all in
Yeah, I knew
Devrel.
that. It's like, oh no, I really wanted to be that. Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, I would
Okay.
end up on the street if I did this. Never mind. Let me
Right,
study computer
right.
science.
I started looking at the salaries and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this I want to be able to buy food or anything
Right.
else. Okay. Okay. For the word, I don't want to give away how I say it, but the word GIF, do you pronounce it GIF or GIF?
I pronounce it as I love this question. I pronounce it, I'm willing to fight over this. I say GIF. So I
Dang,
don't know.
we're gonna fight.
Okay, I was like, what are
I
your
say
thoughts?
GIF.
No.
I'm ready.
So what I think yours is more that's more correct in English, right? If a G is next to a vowel, or
I don't
if G is next to an I,
know.
it's pronounced as J. It's been a long time
Yeah,
since I've been in English class. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know because I mean, giver is next to I. I don't know. Forgive. I
English is
don't
so
know.
strange, but yeah,
Yeah.
I say GIF. That's funny.
No, I love to hear like the different like separations. I feel like a lot of times like maybe the older generation is like it's GIF, and then like with the younger generation it like switches. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'll say GIF or GIF, or some of them say GIF. And then Laura said she relates to it as like I came into DevRel as a technical writer before I became a dev advocate. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. Yeah, I think many of us come from different areas, but that's cool. We do have a few things in common as it relates to that.
Yeah. Okay, and then I think this is the last and my favorite question. What is your favorite Beyonce song?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. I think the song is on the B-Day album. I don't know how far back some people go when they say they're Beyonce fans, but I remember being in fifth grade jamming out to that album, and I loved
Yeah.
Kitty Cat.
Oh no, that sounds
I
great. It's like let's
love
go,
that
little
song.
kitty cat. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes, yes. You know. Okay, okay. So you're
Yeah.
real.
No,
I love that
I know the
song.
Beyonce song. No, I'm
Yes.
like sometimes people are like single ladies. I'm like, all right, so you don't really
Mm.
listen to her.
No, yeah, that's my all-time
Yeah.
favorite, and that's probably still my favorite album. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I love me some Renaissance, but B-Day just has so much power in it, so much going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the B Day
Nostalgic.
too. That was a good one.
Mhm.
That was a good
Mhm.
one. Are there any last things before we wrap up that you want to promote? What? I don't know if y'all hear that, but someone is just like banging a big box or something. But any last things you want to promote or remind people about? Anything that we should check out that you're coming up on, or something about Slim?
Yeah, so if anyone is able to play around on the portal, you just authenticate yourself with like GitHub or anything like that, sign up and sign in and connect to registry and just yeah, start slimming containers, start, you know, running like assessments, vulnerability reports and seeing what is really going on inside your containers. Take a look at our docs, slim.ai/docs. And we're on Twitter, Slim DevOps. I'm on Twitter, Nnenna Hacks. And yeah, I'm hoping to just, to be able to keep chatting with folks and talking more about what I'm working on, what we're working on, what we're building through social media.
Nice. So I'll try to like repeat some of the stuff. I didn't get all the links, but go to Slim.AI, try it out, connect your registry, and get those vulnerabilities fixed. Follow
Yes.
Nnenna on Nnenna Hacks. Also, I think they'll get like the Twitter and other social media platforms from that website Slim.AI. And then if you want to contribute or add any extra thoughts, or if you find a bug, go to github.com/slim toolkit/slim, or
Mm-hmm.
give it a star. If you're like, I'm not able to contribute, I feel like a star is always helpful. Thank you so
Yes, it
much
is.
thank you to the audience for tuning in. Thank you so much, Nnenna, as well, for coming and sharing your time and your knowledge. I'm really excited for your journey. Tune in next time to Open Source Friday, next Friday. I promise it will be less noisy and more organized, and I will have a better camera. It's just been a crazy day. So thanks, y'all, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.